In a lifetime.
Bonjour and welcome to Terminal 2 at Charles de Gaulle. In today's video we've just come off a long-haul 777 flight from San Francisco,
which was a pretty good introduction to Air France's business class. The lounge is brand new and very chic, even if I did have a really strange reaction from the bar lady when I tried to take a photo of the menu. And the product was meant to be on the Boeing 777-300, only to be downgraded the day before. Never mind, the Boeing 777-200 replacing it was still very comfortable, and the food was luxurious.
Now we're travelling on the Airbus A220 over to Dublin.
I'm standing in Terminal K at Charles de Gaulle Airport. It's beautiful, clean and white, but as many Reddit posts will tell you, it doesn't have a great reputation. Even on a recent visit, I went to see the giant cat, otherwise known as Le Grand Chat, but the people working there didn't seem to know where it was. Air France's lounge in Terminal K is very easy to find, and you can access it if you're travelling on any of their partner airlines, with a few from other alliances. Just be aware, as I found out on our recent flight in business class, they've added light fares now for long haul journeys, which unless you have SkyTeam status, ditches lounge access for a cheaper fare price. Being Air France, the bubbles are plentiful, and the wine and champagne is replaced as quickly as it is drunk. If you're giving it up this year, you could buy something from the little display case, perhaps an Air France mug or a model airplane. If the bubbles from the champagne haven't elevated your mood, making it left of the reception for the lounge takes you towards a set of stairs, and there's a second level where you can perch yourself and watch planes. Terminal K is mainly used for short-haul flights, with the odd exception.
So I really like the lounge. It's a nice size, I love the double layers, I love the views out the window, and it just feels a little bit posh.
I have to admit, I got a little bit bored in the lounge. There's only so much cake and champagne I can drink. Well, drink the champagne, eat the cake. One glass is enough. So I'm venturing out to have a look at the big natural wooden curves of the terminal. They're pretty impressive.
You have to admit this is an absolutely beautiful terminal. Anyway, while we're having a walk towards the gate, let's have a look at today's very short journey.
Air France flight 1116 departs from gate 34, which is right next to where they sometimes park the Airbus A320. The journey to Dublin takes us right over the UK in 1 hour and 27 minutes, and a wonderfully short 485 miles. Why short, you ask? Well, when I got on the plane, things got a little bit awkward, but I'll explain that one shortly. I'm not one to sit around and just swipe Instagram. I get bored, so I try and get those all important steps in, and I've noticed a new addition at Terminal K with this retro games centre. But if you just want to sit and watch planes, at the furthest end are some very long steps and comfortable chairs.
In a lifetime.
Boarding can be a little bit messy, because while the signage is clear, sometimes the signs are moved. So if you like to wait for the boarding, you might end up wasting your time. Now things are going really well, and I managed to be the first to board, and this is where the awkwardness started. I was greeted by the cabin crew, who then looked down at my phone and said, "No photos." I have to say, besides being pretty awkward, I was a bit surprised, given especially how every other flight has been so wonderful, with the cabin crew even offering to take a photo of myself in the seat. No one else was on board, so perhaps she was just having a bad day. Lucky for me, I flew the same plane a few months later, so here it is. Used on short routes, I wouldn't rush to get the exit row, because the seats are very comfortable, with a seat width of 18 inches and a pitch of 30, with a very modest recline of 3 inches. Being European business class, it's the same seating as economy, with the middle seat or the one next to you blocked out. A small divider can be moved to expand or decrease the business class section, with the only real difference being the priority boarding, the food and drink, and being at the front. With today's flight having 2 or 3 rows, it feels very cosy. I suspect most travellers won't notice the difference between, say, a Boeing 737, but the walls and features of this plane are wonderful, really modern and stylish. And considering this is a short flight, it was a welcome surprise to see both USB-A and C ports on the back of the seat. And what I love is that after a long haul flight like the one we've just taken, it's the little things that make a big difference. So with the vacant seat next to me, the armrest goes all the way up, which means I can get more comfortable and perhaps even sleep. And with profits pretty tight, airlines often try and cheap out on extras, but surprisingly Air France has added air nozzles and Wi-Fi, which we'll try out shortly. A handy cup holder is built into the back of the seat, which is a really useful place to store the complimentary bottle of water. Not to be a snob about water, but of all things I was expecting Air France to showcase Evian. And a wet wipe because since the pandemic we're all that little bit more conscious about surfaces. And the legroom was pretty average, but it's fine for a short flight. I would love to show you the takeoff, because tell me if I'm wrong, it's the funnest part of flying. But I'm still under the watchful eye of the cabin crew. Maybe we'll be friends by the end of the flight. With time ticking away and only 1 hour before landing into Dublin, everything is served on a single tray, which I'm more than happy with. Air France seems to be big on fish, which some may hate, but hey, it's good for you. With some airlines serving sandwiches, which are tasty but let's face it, cheaper to produce, and can be repetitive. I'm very impressed with the salmon pasta, which I can tell you was delicious. It also comes with different types of cheeses, a beautifully baked bread roll, and one of my favourite French desserts, an apple tart, which was light, not overly sweet, and so good my mother will beat me if I tell her it was better, so shh. Air France doesn't do printed menus, and that's because there's only one option in a take it or leave it situation. For those who don't like fish, I'm sorry to say that while I found it extremely delicious, the meal from Birmingham was couscous with prawns in a seafood sauce. More varieties of cheese, and I have no idea what this is. It's hard on the outside, soft in the middle, and it's filled with gooey cream. Another successful meal. This is the face of a man who was fed well, and perhaps a glass of champagne would complement the meal. But no, it's tea time, and I can feel the jet lag, the air from the plane, and the different time zones playing devil's advocate on my dry throat. The Airbus A220-300 is very compact, and hence the 2-3 layout with the seats. Business class has one toilet at the very front, and it's pretty good. The sink is a pretty pleasing shape, even it is a bit tiny, and the tap is automatic. It somehow feels larger than it is, and I'm not sure if Air France picked the white meeting the dark blue, but it's pretty satisfying. Unless there's been a hostile takeover, which I just don't know about, by name Roger, it should be pretty easy to identify the network to connect to. Once connected, you'll be able to see a bottle of Clarin's age-defying concentrate, and if I was able to make 66.8 million profit last year, I'd probably be able to sponsor the Wi-Fi as well. Becoming the standard now, Air France allows you to text minus any photos to your heart's content, but if you need a bit more for browsing the internet or social media, you can do so for €7. And if that's not enough, you can also stream for €18. I'll leave it to you to decide if you think it's worth doing on a flight that's barely over 1 hour. I think you know the answer. In the sub 150 seat category, competition is tough, with the Airbus A220's direct competitor being Embraer, which is based in beautiful Brazil. With the newest plane, the E195-E2, which we flew with KLM, being equally just as good. In honesty, we're pretty indifferent as to which we prefer. I certainly wouldn't like to fly either on a journey over 3 hours, But hey, you could always distract yourself with the food or get a little bit tipsy with the champagne. It's just a shame that out of the 8 flights I've taken with Air France, the cabin crew got a little bit awkward at the start. Oh well, all that's left to say is merci d'avoir regard.